without knowing what's happening in the world, I recognize that you and I we're potentially in a precarious state financially and housing wise because I mean, yeah, we can make it work. Like we have enough money to pay rent and pay the bills. Okay, and then we can breathe again. You know, once rent is paid, and then the month starts over, and it's like, okay, are we gonna, let's make sure we have enough money for rent again next month. And so we don't spend any money. We don't do anything. We don't go anywhere. We don't have anything extra. We're on food stamps, but we survive. But this article that I read yesterday, it was written by three, like a government economist, I don't know, some professor. Anyway, people who are educated on economics. The main point was basically everybody wants to make money, and there's not really any money to be made in affordable housing. So there's tons of money. So there's tons of luxury apartments and condos and huge houses, but affordable housing for American is not where the money is, and so people don't build it, and that's why people buy up mobile home parks and then tear them down and build condos. When mobile home parks are a very reasonable place to start with affordable housing. People talk about tiny homes. Tiny homes are okay if you are a single person or just a married couple, or maybe have one kid, but we have 4 kids. We have 6 people.
Well, tiny homes aren't all that affordable anyway, are they? Aren't they usually expensive?
No, they're more affordable than regular house like this.
Okay.
But they also don't have foundations, and so there's a lot of problems with them. They are illegal a lot of the time.
In a lot of places.
In a lot of places, yeah. There's a movement happening where they're trying to make it legal and change zoning and things like that. Mobile homes don't have as much clout behind them. They're not as exciting as tiny homes.
Not as novel.
Not as novel, exactly, yeah. And so the zoning for mobile homes is not being pushed as much. The difficulties with owning a mobile home are not really being addressed. But that's not what this article talked about. The article talked about possible solutions as far as like the federal government doing tax credits and things like that. He was saying that like owning a home was the biggest way for Americans to invest and get a return, like to build wealth. And that's no longer the case because we just can't buy houses anymore. I mean, most people can't. As far as the moment we got married, all of a sudden it became impossible to buy a house.
Right.
It's kind of what happened.
4 years ago.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like you were able to buy and sell houses with your ex-wife, and then we get married, and all of a sudden there are no houses.
Right.
There are no affordable houses to be had anywhere.
And that's what people were saying. Like, we talked to other couples, and they'd be saying that, oh, we're looking for a house, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
We weren't even shopping for a house at the time, but
yeah,
everybody was saying it's really hard, and houses are getting snatched up immediately, and you're paying more than what they're asking for.
Yeah, and now things have slowed down just because I guess that happened, and it made all the prices skyrocket. And now it's just gotten worse and worse, and so then nobody has anywhere to live, so they're renting, which makes all the rental prices skyrocket, and so then nobody has any money left. But, anyway. I, So he was saying that that was the biggest way for people to build wealth. And
What, like 20 years ago or something?
yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad started talking bad about that. If your home is your biggest investment, then you've got problems.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, why is, and that's just assuming. So isn't so saying, oh, now we can't build wealth in our homes the way we used to, it's saying that housing prices should be going up as much as they are. Like, that seems like an unsustainable formula. You know, if you want to build wealth, you buy a house because housing prices skyrocket. Oh, now nobody can buy a house. So we're not able to build wealth. But maybe we shouldn't have been building wealth in our houses in the first place because then we can't afford them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my take on that. But in this article, he was saying we should be able to buy houses so then we can build wealth on it. But it seems like that contradicts itself.
Yeah.
But he didn't address that. I don't necessarily want, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say no to $20,000 coming our way. But if it did, it's like, is that really a solution to our problem? I just want a place to live that doesn't take all of our money every single month. That's all I want. A permanent place to live.
So you aren't focused on the government spreading around more money, you're focused on just housing being less expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, if the government is using all this money, or has all this money to resolve the problem, the best way would be just allowing people like us to get into an affordable place that's big enough for us.
Okay.
You know? Anyway.
So, how are they not allowing us? I mean, are they preventing us
No.
from getting into a...
No, but we don't have any resources on our own. So, facilitating, I guess, is the word.
Okay. So they should subsidize housing
I don't know.
expenses?
I don't know. I don't know the solution.
Okay.
I know that I would really like to get into a mobile home even, you know, own my own mobile home. But there are lots of risks associated with that as far as just, you know, you don't own the property. You just own the home, and so you have to pay rent on the property. So there's the risks. 1, 2, it's actually not any cheaper if, you know, as far as what we're paying here, your rent can still go up every month. And 3...
Well, every year.
Every year. Yeah. And 3, it's like we still can't do it because of our situation. Like our credit history, we don't have a down payment. We still can't actually, mobile homes are not actually affordable housing for us.
Okay. So, yeah, I'd really like to identify something that could change. You know, something. It feels like we're just complaining, like we're just stating the problem. Right?
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is I guess I don't know what is actually being done with all the money, but it would be nice if the government, I guess, were able to help people like us who really have no resources and no way of getting into anywhere to just get into some affordable housing that's not a homeless shelter, you know, that we could own. It's not temporary.
Okay.
It's, you know, a nice place to live in, like a decent neighborhood, you know, like we don't want to live in
the projects.
We don't want to live in you know, a grungy apartment.
Mm-hmm.
that's too small and crowded and dirty.
Okay. But don't you think that if the government is providing um, cheap housing to people, then it's just going to be inundated. Like the whole area is going to really drop in quality. Like you want a nice place to live,
Mm-hmm.
but if I mean there have been government projects, ghettos,
Mm-hmm.
and even here in Utah, I've seen places that say, somebody says, "Oh yeah, those apartments right there are like cut rate because
It's low income
it's
housing.
low income housing." And I look at it and it's like, I don't want to live there,
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for a nice place,
Mm-hmm.
quality, at a low price, but when the government tries to provide that low price, the quality goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to have high quality and low price.
Maybe the problem is that they're segmenting all the low income people into one area.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a good way of doing it. If you take one low income family, whoever they are, like they can be people who would have lived in the projects or the ghetto or anything.
Drug addicts.
Drug addicts. Well, no, not drug addicts.
Okay.
Because drug addicts do make places worse.
Okay.
So just a normal family, maybe they're immigrants or whatever, and they don't have any drug problems.
Okay.
And you take them and you put them in just some affordable housing, just some like in this neighborhood. This is a really nice neighborhood. In this house.
Mm-hmm.
And the government helps them to live in this house.
Okay.
So it's not surrounded by a bunch of other low-income people. It's just a house that they found that's affordable, that is that they're being subsidized or helped to live. You know what I mean?
Who found? That the people found or the government found?
Either way.
Because that's a big burden on the government.
Okay, so the people.
Ask them to find the housing. Individual single-family homes. I mean, if the government is looking, they're probably going to look for bulk. Like, oh, this area has fourplexes or apartments or whatever, and so then they could, technically identify housing when it's in bulk. But if it's individual housing for hundreds of thousands of people, that's a huge burden on the government.
Well, okay, so they won't. I mean, I
So
think
the individuals.
because and I like that mobile home in that mobile home park
Mm-hmm.
that I found. I would love to move in there. We have no way of doing that.
Right.
And so to be able to say, hey, I want to live in this place. How can we make that happen? Like have some kind of a social worker, and then they just get you in there, and then you are on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the government just facilitates you getting into the place, and then like we, as hard as it's been, we have never missed a rent payment. We've not even been late. I don't think.
Not officially. I don't know.
Yeah, we've never had to make a.
There was the check that got lost in the mail, but
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, we pretty much haven't been late.
Yeah, and so it's like if we could afford, if our housing was more affordable, then yeah, it would be so much easier. And I don't care about building wealth and equity. I mean, sure, it'd be great, but I just care about having something that we can afford and then pay off and then not have to keep making the payments, and be able to, like, okay, let's say we buy a mobile home and we're paying $900 a month for it. And then once it's paid off, it's like now we have $900 extra, and I want to be able to put wallpaper on the walls and change the lighting fixtures and to just like make it a home. And I think that's more important than, always feeling like I have to have equity. And if we lived there for 30 years and then sold it for what we bought it for, I don't really see any problem with that. You know, we got the value out of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do we constantly have to increase the values of our homes, you know, in order to improve our economy when it seems like it's hurting our economy?
Well, I don't know that there's like a push for that. You know that people. I mean, people take advantage of it. You know, they say, "Oh, home rates are going up. Yeah, so I'm actually earning money on this. That's really cool." And then they kind of get in that mindset, and so yeah, they take advantage of it. But I don't know that there's anything that they can really do to make it happen, to make the prices go up. I think it's just a supply and demand kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if there's, you know, a huge demand for houses, 10 people are trying to buy the same house, yeah, that price is going to go up and up.
There actually are ways for the price to make prices go up and go down. Like, that's why people don't want a homeless shelter near them, because that makes their home values go down. That's why people don't want, you know, certain things around their houses, because heaven forbid their home values go down.
Okay, but how do you make your home value go up? I mean, if there's things that, you know, factors that'll make it go down, are there ways for them to force it up? I mean, I guess you could build schools and parks and stuff, but that's kind of like public infrastructure rather than something that an individual builder or an individual owner could do.
Yeah, it's just surrounding yourself with things that you think will add value to your property.
Yeah. And I mean, like putting in a granite countertop or updating the kitchen or the bathroom or whatever. I mean, that can make the value go up, but only so much. You know, it's not going to make a $50,000 into a $200,000 home or 200 into a million or whatever. So upgrades and stuff, that's something that people can do to an individual house, but it's only going to do so much. So I think that the supply and demand is a much bigger factor. That, you know, all of these people, like when we got married and everybody was snatching up houses immediately, it was because there were so many buyers. And I don't know if investing has an effect on that. You know, like people that already have 10 houses and they're renting them out, and they're the ones that are trying to buy up these properties, or if it's actually like individuals and families that are looking for their own home that are the ones that are doing all the buying up. I think in Utah that there's a lot of people moving in, and a lot of growth just within the state that makes for a lot of demand on housing, but in other places, that's not going to be the case. There's not, you know, people moving in to California because of low housing costs, and so people are moving out of California because of high housing costs to Utah, driving up our prices. But is that driving California prices lower?
I think a little bit, yeah. I mean, it takes a while.
So the supply and demand should be. Well, it seems
out.
Well, it seems to me that that's probably the biggest effect. Whether you have a homeless shelter or a prison near your home or something like that, yeah, that can affect a small segment of the state's housing. But when the state as a whole is too high, it seems to me like bigger factors like supply and demand. And you've talked about the silver tsunami of the baby boomer generation that has decided to keep their homes and are now dying off. And so this huge amount of homes is going to be flooding the market, not so much in Utah, but in other places. What was it, like 100,000 homes per year or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Some huge number of houses.
Yeah, it might have been more than that even. And then like every year that number was getting bigger. Every year the number of houses coming into the market would be getting bigger.
Because of the silver tsunami, people.
Dying.
And then there's always building. And so eventually the open market should balance itself out. It's just a bubble right now that's about to burst with the silver tsunami on its way. And so it's just like maybe this 10-year, 20-year, maybe even 30-year span that's like really tight on budgets, really bad on the housing market that's about to burst, and housing prices should be going back down, right? I mean,
I would assume so, yeah, sooner or later. Somewhere. I mean, maybe not in Utah. I don't see them going down in Utah anytime soon.
yeah,
Like, not even for 30 years, not even for 50 years.
the next 50 years.
Yeah, I could see Utah just being the most expensive place in the country to live.
Yeah.
Because people are moving here to build industries, and people are born here and raised here and stay here and have families and keep growing, and they don't leave. So it's not like people move here like New York, like, oh, it's so cool, I want to live in New York, and then it's like, oh, it's too expensive, I'm going to move out again. Or LA, I want to move to LA to become an actor, oh, it's too expensive, I'm going to move out again. It's like Utah, you're here to stay.
Right.
And so, and we're going to have kids, and those kids are going to grow up, and they're going to need a house, and everybody's going to need a house. And
Just because of the Utah culture.
yeah, the Utah culture.
It's not the New York culture or the LA culture. Or
Yeah, it's the Utah culture, and it's
industry moving
booming. Yeah, and industry moving in. Like a lot of tech. I don't know why all the tech companies want to live here, but
Crossroads of the West.
yeah. It is actually the only place in the United States where I-80 and I-15 cross. And I-15 goes down to Mexico, and I-80 goes across the
Entire United States.
the country. Yeah, and so it's connecting, the south and the west, east and west, the north and south and the east. So it literally is the crossroads of the West. Or the crossroads of the country.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's why they're moving into Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's government's making a big push to have, like giving tax breaks and stuff like that to companies to bring them in here. But everybody does that. Everybody wants industry. So I don't know if Utah's just better at it, or if it is because it's a major hub for trucking or whatever. But yeah, Utah is, you're probably right. We don't have, according to the report that you read about the silver tsunami, Utah doesn't have a big population of baby boomers that are going to be contributing to a silver tsunami in Utah.
Yeah, well, or they do, but it's not going to be affected because we have such a huge population growth that there's not going to be a excess of housing, a surplus of housing.
Okay.
Because the demand is higher than the supply.
And it's unlikely that Californians are going to stop moving to Utah anytime soon.
Yeah.
As much as expensive as Utah is, California probably will always outpace us on when it comes to housing because it's oceanfront property.
It's so beautiful.
But if their income is outpacing Utah, and then they start moving to Utah, driving up our housing prices, but not our income, then it's a problem for Utah, and it may always be a problem for Utah.
I could see our income going up though with all the industries coming here, Apple and Google and
if we work,
Adobe. Who works?
Oh, you mean Utah as a whole?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant you and me.
No. No, I mean...
We should probably address this why we're not working thing.
Why are we not working?
At some point.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I could see Utah, like, never really going down.
Okay.
Unless it's just so expensive and people, like San Francisco... Unless it turns into the next San Francisco where nobody can afford to buy anything.
Okay, we have a high enough homosexual population for that to be the next San Francisco.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm referring to. Like
that's not what you're talking about.
Silicon Valley, like San Francisco, the reason why nobody can afford the houses there is because of Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And Silicon Valley, they're making so much money and they still can't afford houses to live in San Francisco.
And now in Utah, we're having Silicon Slopes.
Yeah.
which is
because we
like
want to create the same thing.
a mile that direction.
Yeah.
And so if we've got tons of industry moving into Utah from California
making
or whatever,
tons of money,
making tons of money like in Silicon Valley,
mm-hmm.
then we're going to be the next Bay Area.
Yeah.
In terms of housing prices.
So let's move to the Bay Area.
Okay.
Get out of Utah.
Yeah.
Nobody can afford to live in the Bay Area anymore.
Now, one thing that you were saying about government making it possible for people to get homes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about rent or buying?
Buying.
Okay, so
because it's more secure.
So you want the government to help people to buy homes just by breaking down the barriers.
Yeah.
Not so much by subsidizing it
mm-hmm.
or paying, giving people money for it, but by saying, we're gonna make it easier for you without an income to us specifically. I mean, if we have got no income,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna make it easier for you to buy this home, and we're not gonna pay attention to how you can pay for it, right? Or are they going to make sure that we can pay for it?
Well, either way, I mean, they could, we could do like a no down payment option or whatever because we don't have down payment. And then it could just be like a percentage of our income.
Okay.
And then when our income increases, we can pay more.
Okay. And if we have no income to speak of?
Then we'll agree on a price. Because, I mean, we want to pay for our home.
Uh-huh.
It's not like, oh no, just let us live for free because we don't want to work.
There are people that are like that.
But we would, it's important to pay for it.
Okay.
I think. And so it's like, okay, yeah, we don't officially have jobs right now, but we're going to make sure that we pay our rent. And we can assume that $3,000 a month is a comfortable income for us. So if you, and a doable income.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, the government, provide, if we can get some kind of housing for ourselves at $900 to $1,000 a month, that would be comfortable, that would be great, and we'll make sure that we always pay it.
Okay, and so the government's just going to go off of our word?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Well, they look at employment history. And
they do, and that's where we come into trouble.
Right.
So we who are vulnerable to being homeless, what could they do to help us? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we have bad employment history. Yeah, we have bad credit history. But we don't want to live in a homeless shelter. We do want to work. We do want to pay for our housing. We'll make sure, no matter what we do, that we'll pay $900 to $1,000 a month, period.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And whatever they, they give homeless drug addicts off the street housing, they can help us get us into a place, and we'll say we can pay $900 a month for this.
Okay. Well, it sounds like what you want to do, instead of using like employment history or a credit check or something, is rent history. Like we could get like a signed statement from our current renter, our previous 2 renters, previous 3 renters, whatever, and signed statement saying, yes, the Joneses paid every month.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can show that, for the last 4 years we've always paid our rent and it's always been on time and it's always been the full amount,
mm-hmm.
then even though our job situation is sketchy and our credit is not great, we do have something to prove that we are not a risk,
mm-hmm.
or something like that.
But that's the thing, is the people who are vulnerable are a risk. So what do you do about that? No, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you don't just want to, the government blows enough money,
mm-hmm.
right? But they do it on a vast scale so they can say, well, we're not favoring anyone. We lost a whole lot of money. We lost billions of dollars, but we did it with a focus on everybody equally.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have them start singling out homes and individuals and saying, well, you are probably not going to make any home payments, and you may go back on drugs.
Yeah.
So not going to trust you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, those people need something too. Everybody who's a risk needs something.
Right. Well, yeah, but if you're a risk, then you could lose the government a lot of money, and you could do it as as an individual instead of as a big public program, and then the government would be playing favorites to you. And
by giving you so much more money?
Yeah, by giving you money when they weren't giving other people money. And if they did give other people money, if they just gave everybody money, then it would be like a socialist state, and nobody, everybody's working for the government. Everybody's money all goes to the government, and then the government provides housing for everybody, which then you get cinder block apartments instead of nice homes.
Well, okay, so let's say the government is helping people to get into housing, one at a time, like we talked about. And then there are the people who keep not paying and keep blowing their chances, right?
Okay.
And keep going back on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Then those are the people who, baby,
mm-hmm.
who get into the ghettos and the projects and the homeless shelters. Because putting them in an individual house in an individual neighborhood isn't working. So we give them the chance, and then maybe pulling them out of that again and giving them a chance again later is how we do it. Because keeping them in the projects and the ghettos and the homeless shelter isn't going to help anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But pouring money into them, trying to keep them in a regular housing situation isn't working either. So you move them back and forth and say, are you ready now?
Okay.
I don't know. I think that it's a great idea. I think the problem is that we're so focused on profitability in housing that it's destroying the government and everybody's capacity to do things with housing, to be flexible with it.
Okay. So your problem isn't with government; it's with our society's focus on increasing housing.
Yeah.
Costs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you can legislate the government. I don't know if you can really regulate the society's values.
Well, the government helps affect the housing costs, and they are trying to make housing profitable while also trying to make housing affordable, and I think those two things are contradictory.
Okay, so your focus is on the government.
I think the government has a lot of power to do a lot of stuff with the housing market.
And to control social values.
I don't know. Whatever you value, if you can't get profitability out of housing, you're going to turn somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. And so I guess that's our discussion.
I guess. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'd like to continue it and look for some solutions.
Okay.
I'm a problem solver.